Good evening and welcome to Late Night Review, where we talk about what's happening
and what's not.
I'm Davis Grant.
And I'm Kaylee Law.
And here are tonight's top stories.
Scientists at the University of Kansas have discovered that stonefish evolved with hidden switchblades on their faces to flick out whenever they feel they're in danger. Other evolutionary traits researchers found include wearing leather jackets, snapping aggressively, and an unexplained racial bias against the Puerto Ricans.
The public is up in arms as President Donald Trump ordered a joint military operation with the UK and France to launch airstrikes on Syria following the use of chemical weapons against their own citizens, taking the phrase "fight fire with fire" a bit too literally.
A local man recently released an article detailing his account of being swallowed by a hippopotamus. His thesis? Vor isn't as great as it's cracked up to be.
Two black men were escorted out of a Starbucks following an emergency call by an employee despite not doing anything, when in reality, the only thing they did wrong was going to Starbucks in the first place.
Last week, the White House issued a blistering attack on Comey's anti-Trump memoir, A Higher Loyalty. Blistering attack sounds like my brother's chronic hemorrhoids.
Let's slow it down there, Kaylee. Former FBI Director James Comey wrote in his book, President Donald Trump is unethical and untethered to truth and institutional values. When asked to comment, the rest of the world replied, yeah.
A Pennsylvania school has armed teachers with souvenir baseball bats to protect themselves against school shooters. Because nothing stops a bad guy with a gun like a 49-year-old divorcee teacher with 13 inches of cedar fueled by pent-up aggression and something to prove.
College football is making a major rule change that is believed to be a huge step forward in prioritizing player safety by just stopping it altogether.
Last week, it was revealed that Paul Ryan would not be running for re-election.
Yes, the Wisconsin Republican stated that he wanted to spend more time with his family and kids, and so that he announced his retirement on Wednesday.
Here to comment, Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So, how does it feel to leave the world of politics? You've been a politician since the early 90s.
Well, I'm actually quite relieved. It's been a good run, but I want my kids to know the real me.
And who is the real Paul Ryan?
I'll tell you. The real Paul Ryan plays video games.
Oh, with your kids?
They wish. Besides, they can't borrow my PlayStation. That'd be a free handout.
I'm sorry, I'm not following?
With enough hard work, they'll afford their own someday.
Okay, all right, let's move on. What do you hope to accomplish in your last months in office?
Well, I'm gonna continue to do my best for the good old Republican Party. Drinks on me, everybody!
Whoa, Mr. Ryan, we thought you wanted to spend more time with your family.
I do. With my bros.
What about your children?
My children. My pull-out game is too weak, I'll tell you. Just like Obama's stance on immigration.
Okay, we're running out of time, but we have one last question, Mr. Ryan.
Your stay as Speaker of the House might be defined by your efforts to take healthcare away from millions of Americans. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I didn't want everybody to have all the health care. I just wanted some more health care, you know?
No, that's not how it works. That's not how healthcare works.
You sound like my wife when I eat Easy Mac out of the bag. Anyways, I'm gonna go smoke some grass and steal some beer. Hillary for prison!
Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, everybody! Billy Mitchell, the king of Kong, had all of his high scores stripped away after it was discovered he cheated. Sources say he lives in hiding in his mother's basement, devoting all of his recreational time to playing Diddy Kong Racing and diddying himself.
A Connecticut man robbed a bank for $1,600, then dropped it off at Taylor Swift's home in order to impress her. Makes sense, seeing as she's been robbing people for years.
Former House Speaker John Boehner has joined the board of a marijuana firm. Boehner was previously opposed to the idea of legal cannabis, but has since said his stance on the issue has evolved. That's the first time I've heard a Republican mention evolution.
Earlier this week, Congress called on Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg to explain how a political consulting firm was able to harvest personal information from 50 million users via his website. However, members of Congress were unable to open the app on their mobile devices for reference. Testimony was halted as they collectively phoned their grandsons for troubleshooting.
TJ Miller was arrested and charged by the FBI for calling in a false bomb threat on an Amtrak train. As of now, he will no longer be able to pursue his involvement with coveted roles such as an emoji, a booger, and a sexual predator.
The internet was shocked this morning to find a Portuguese woman who has 2 buttholes. On an unrelated note, I have now purchased a ticket to Portugal.
The Walmart Yodel Boy surprised people with a performance at Coachella this weekend, reminding us all that life isn't fair.
And finally, a Florida man was arrested recently for ringing doorbells and subsequently punching homeowners in the face, thus inspiring the latest generational trend, ding dong, son of a bitch!
For Late Night Review, I'm still Kaylee Law.
And I used to see out of the side, Davis Grant.
Good night.